Hello, good morning on this Tuesday, and welcome to another live session in the Crypto Adoption Week. We start with some of the introductional speakers, but just a little introduction from me. This week has been established because there has been, for the first time, been created a survey on all the Nordic countries regarding the crypto adoption in the different countries: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and Finland. In Norway, these surveys has been done for several years, and the companies behind it is K33 and Ernst & Young. But this is the first time then that there also are surveys and results from Sweden and Denmark and Finland. And yesterday we had the live stream with guests and presentations for the Swedish results. And in the end of the stream, we had about 150 viewers. That was fun. Today we are focusing on the Danish results. Tomorrow it will be the survey related to Finland. On Thursday we will then focus both on Norway but also on the Nordics. So we will do a summary and also compare the results between the different countries, and also compare somewhat to the results for Norway last year. So now we will then start, because there are several partners behind this initiative, and one is Nordic Blockchain Association. And then I will welcome you, Cecilia Sturik.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, could you please start a little introduction about yourself, and also say something about Nordic Blockchain Association? What is it, and what is your mission?
Yes, of course. So I'm Cecilie Sturik, and I am Danish, and I live here in Denmark. I am manager of speakers and content of the Nordic Blockchain Conference 2024. And I'm also the co-creator of the newly established fourth steering committee called Female and Diversity within the Nordic Blockchain Association. And NBA, also as we call it, is the largest professional Web3 network in the Nordics, and now also in the Baltics. And our mission is to foster growth and innovation within the blockchain network within the space of Web3. And we have 4 steering committees for our members. And it's called Best Practices, Legal and Advocacy, Industry Financing, and the newly established one, Female and Diversity. And we host a yearly flagship conference. This will be June 19th and the 20th this summer. And we just recently won Best Congress of the Year 2023 by wonderful Copenhagen. So we are very proud of that. At our conference, we also have the largest NFT gallery within all the Nordic countries. And it's just like, NBA is just an awesome community also just to be a part of. So that's a little bit about NBA.
Yeah, maybe it's correct also to say that you have the name Nordic, but so far you maybe have had your hub in Copenhagen, but it has also been moving into Norway and Sweden and Finland. The last year maybe focused on more on the other countries, right?
Yes, I can just mention a few. We have Magnus Jones from EY representing Norway, and then we have Kevin Saraka and Robert Tollett representing Finland. They have been great supporters of the Nordic Blockchain Association's community, and we are very, very thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of we are building a Nordic community right now in this week. And a second question for you is, because this is the first time that there is a Nordic survey about the adoption of crypto in the Nordic countries, and we have viewed that there are some surveys on the States and Europe and on Asia. But what is the meaning of this new survey where we have all the Nordic countries except Iceland on board? What do you think about that?
I think it's like super important to map what the numbers are in reality. I just glanced over it before I came on this, and it's not surprising, but what surprised me the most about this survey from Denmark is that most crypto holders are within the age range of 30 to 40, which is unlike the other countries. I found that very interesting, but I just think it's super important just to highlight who owns crypto and like what the landscape looks like. So it's just important to have that information out.
Thank you, Dan, Cecilia. Then we will move on to the presentation. And as I've said, there are two companies behind it. It is K33 and Ernst & Young. And then maybe you, Mats, could present yourself in the beginning.
Absolutely, Morten. Thank you so much. So my name is Mats Ribe. I'm an associate partner and lawyer at EY Tax and Law. I've been working in the crypto space since 2017 with a various number of different companies. And we at EY, we support really the whole community. And I've done so since 2015, both on the technical side with blockchain platforms, but also nevertheless on the tax and legal side. So really glad to be able to present the results this week for all of the Nordic countries. We have done similar surveys for Norway in the past couple of years. And yesterday we did Sweden with really, really interesting numbers and discussions. Today we're going to do Denmark, and we Norwegians tend to look at Denmark as kind of leading the trends. So it's going to be interesting to see whether Danes are also leading this trend when it comes to crypto. Over to you, Anders.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Anders Helseth. I am the head of research at K33. K33 was previously known as Arcane Crypto, so many of you might know us from that name. We are at K33, we are doing three things. We are doing crypto research, which is the division I'm heading. We have a crypto brokerage with great prices for larger buy and sell orders. And we have a fund where we actively manage that fund. And we can give you the deal of if we don't beat Bitcoin, you will not pay a management fee. So we are doing those three things. And together with EY, we have done this survey, which we will now present to you. Could I get confirmation that everybody sees the presentation?
Yes, now we do.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, so we are diving right into it. And to the best of our knowledge, this survey is the first one conducted on a proper representative population in Denmark. We have used Norstat to help us conduct the survey. So we have used their panels and they are great at that. What we find for Denmark is that there are 300,000 Danish crypto owners. That equates to 7% of the adult population. We presented numbers from Sweden yesterday. They have more owners due to them being a more populous country, but we see that the ownership rate was the same in Sweden at 7%. We are going to go more into the demographics of these crypto owners in the coming slides, but I can say something about the demographics except for what we are going to show you later. And that is that we see that crypto ownership in Denmark is more common in the big cities. And generally, crypto ownership is correlated with education and income. So the more education, the higher your income, the higher the likelihood of owning cryptocurrencies.
And looking at those demographics in more detail, we see in the age brackets, and we see some really interesting numbers with most crypto owners actually being between 30 to 39, so being, let's say, young adults, but not as young as the millennials we saw for Sweden yesterday, which really were the main crypto owner population in Sweden. So in Denmark, there's a bit let's say, older age brackets, but we definitely see kind of the same trend, that it is kind of the young adults leading the pack. But it's quite interesting to see that there's as many, let's say, millennials as between 40 to 49 in Denmark owning crypto. And we can only speculate why that is. It could be many different reasons, but and that is something we can perhaps discuss afterwards. But that is definitely something to take into account when it comes to Danish crypto owners.
Definitely, and that's a very interesting find, because it is unique for Denmark that you have the same ownership rate among the 40 to 50-year-olds as the under 30s. So perhaps hearing some possible explanations from the other panel participants later would be super interesting. And let's dive further into the demographics of the Danish crypto ownership. And when we look at male owners versus female owners, we find a clear gap. 21% of Danish crypto owners are female, so 1 in 5. When we look at it per gender, we see that 10% own cryptocurrencies among men, whereas that same number is 3% for women. And that gender gap, we have also asked the respondents when they first bought cryptocurrencies. And based on those answers, we can see that the gender gap remains stable among Danish crypto owners. Lastly, it should be said that this gender gap is not unique for crypto. We also see when doing stock surveys, not us, but other surveys of stock ownership, we see that there are more men owning stocks and investment assets in general than women. From the surveys we have seen, the ratio is more 2 to 1. For instance, for stock ownership, men versus women, than the 3 to 1 relationship we have here. So the gender gap is slightly bigger among crypto owners, but it follows the same general trend.
When we look at when Danes bought crypto, we see that crypto really reached mainstream during COVID. It's a significant increase during 2021, starting from 2020, and also into 2022. But there are definitely also some crypto owners that bought much earlier. You see actually 10% before 2016. That's really, really early. And then we see some numbers also before the COVID. But it's really when people stayed at home, perhaps had more liquidity because of the low interest rates, that people started to invest in crypto, and especially then 2021. This is somewhat similar to what we saw for Sweden yesterday, with also crypto really hitting mainstream in Sweden during COVID. But we did see people actually in Sweden being a bit earlier. A larger percentage had bought earlier before COVID. And especially in Sweden during, let's say, the ICO bubble that occurred during 2017, 2018. For Denmark, not so much, more than during the pandemic, which tends to follow, let's say, the general markets. So somewhat, thereby somewhat not that surprising, but still kind of a significant treat to take into account for Denmark.
Definitely, and I find this chart quite interesting. You see clearly that the rise in crypto ownership follows the markets, as Mats said there. But you also see that more than the markets, it also follows an underlying uptrend. 2023 to 2023, it will often hit the numbers for 2023. Was a bad year, but you still see that the new amount of new owners is larger than the previous bad years. Also, I find it a bit surprising initially that 10% that much actually bought before 2016. So there are a lot of early adopters in Denmark. And then we have asked the respondents whether they will want to buy crypto in the coming 10 years. And this is not a projection really of the number of crypto owners it will be in Denmark in 10 years, but it definitely gives a good indication of how people view cryptocurrencies, and especially the non-owners, what is their relationship to cryptocurrencies. So over the next 10 years, based on our survey responses, 20% of everyone, owners and non-owners, answer that they plan to buy crypto within the next 10 years. In numbers, that would mean that we are closing in on 1 million Danish crypto owners, 900,000 to be precise. When they are planning to buy this cryptocurrency, you can see on the left-hand side here, where 5%, where a lot of those are the already owners, plan to buy crypto within the next year, a further 8% within the next 3 years, a further 3% within the next 5 years, and then a further 4% within the next 10 years. So there are a lot of people that think that, oh, I'm not quite ready. This is not quite mature enough now, but I think it will be within some years.
So when looking at where does Danes actually buy their crypto, we see it's the large international cryptocurrency exchanges that really is leading the pack. So Coinbase with a significant 40% of the market, and Binance following suit with 22%. So it's really the large international exchanges that is leading the crypto trends in Denmark. This was actually also the case somewhat for Sweden yesterday, and to some extent also for Norway when you look at the numbers for last year. But compared to Norway for last year, we see that there's no really big adoption among, let's say, the Danish exchanges. We have Lunar at 17%, which is leading the pack from the Danish side, and we also see the Norwegian exchange having 5% of the market. There's also 21% looking for other international exchanges. But compared to, let's say, Sweden yesterday, we see that there's not as many who has invested into, let's say, the more securitized versions of crypto, where you basically invest into a fund or a security who would then invest into crypto. So for the ETFs, ETPs, we see only 5% for Danes. While in Sweden, for yesterday, we saw that a significant 26% actually invested in those securities. So in Denmark, there's a much larger degree of direct ownership into crypto, and you have Lunar at 17%. But other than that, it is really the large international exchanges that people use.
Definitely. And some people use more exchanges than one. So if you sum up these bars, they will sum to more than 100%. And then when we look at the number of users that use international exchanges in Denmark, it sums up to about 85%. So like 85% of crypto owners in Denmark use international exchanges. Some of them also use national, but it's very high usage of international exchanges among Danish crypto owners. And with that, we have presented you our main findings, which are summarized here, where if you just want to remember or if you can't remember that much, you remember these things. That there are 300,000 Danish crypto owners, equating to 7% of the adult population. There is a big gender gap in crypto ownership. 10% of men own crypto versus 3% of women. Danish crypto owners, they are young. 61% of the owners are under 40 years old. And many Danish people that don't own cryptocurrency today, they plan to buy it in the future, with 20% of the Danish saying that they plan to buy cryptocurrency within the next 10 years.
And all these numbers will be then summarized in a final report for the Nordics and released on Thursday, once we do both the Norwegian and Nordic joint presentation on Thursday. So stay tuned.
Yes.
Thank you, Morten. You're on mute, Morten.
Thank you, Anders and Mats, for your presentation. And we are then building knowledge about this adoption part in the Nordics. And when you started to prepare this survey, and you had the background of the Norwegian survey, and you started also then to work on Sweden and this time on Denmark, are these results as expected, or are there any surprises for you guys?
At least when you look at the number of Danes owning crypto, I don't think it's that surprising, because it's quite similar, right, to Norway for both the last year and actually the past years. It's 7% for Denmark, and we also saw yesterday 7% for Sweden. Obviously, Swedes are higher in the population, so more than 550,000 people own crypto in Sweden, while in Denmark it's about 300,000. But looking at the percentage, it's quite similar. I think what's significant for Denmark is really the age brackets, right? So we have a high degree of 30 to 39 owning crypto. Obviously, they might have, let's say, better economy, and they might been able to develop more into, let's say, the financial aspects of crypto. But that is definitely something that is significant comparing to Sweden yesterday, where more millennials, so the younger population, developing into crypto.
What do you think, Anders?
I agree very much with what Mats said there. I also think it is interesting to see that when you compare them to the Swedish and also the Norwegians a year ago, that the Danish crypto owners are more likely to use international exchanges. Yes, they are physically closer to the rest of Europe. The rest of the world is a matter of definition. But it's still interesting. I do not have the exact explanation for it, but it's an interesting trend to see.
Are there anything others that you want to comment regarding what is standing out? Just be aware that people are coming on board on this live stream. So are there any specific things that stands out? You have mentioned the international exchange, and you have mentioned the gap or the differences in the age usage of crypto. Are there anything else?
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
yeah, thank you. It's not that surprising, but I would say it's very interesting to see the gender gap. That men are 3 times as likely to own cryptocurrency as women. It's not that surprising, but it is something that at least us working in crypto should try to even out in the coming years.
Yeah, but it seems like the gender gap is all over the place. It is all countries, at least for now, both in Sweden and Denmark, and also from the last survey last year in the Norwegian one. So we have a problem in all the countries.
Yes, we have a difference at least.
Okay, then maybe that could be part of the conversation that we will now continue with, because we have 3 guests that will join us, and we welcome back Cecilia, but we also will welcome Charlotte and Louisa. And maybe you people can see that today we have only female guests, and we have been hammered somewhat after yesterday's live stream where there were only men. But we tried to invite someone, but then the women said no. But today the men have said no, and we are happy to welcome Louisa and Charlotte and Cecilia. Maybe you could start then, Louisa, just to present yourself, both as a person and what you're working on.
Yes, sure. So I work for Nordstake. That is a regulated staking provider for institutional investors. And I work as the community manager. So that means that I do all of the marketing efforts. So that could be everything from events to the presence on social media to brand strategy and of course community management. So that is what I do.
Okay, Charlotte, please also tell us who you are and what you are working on.
Hey everybody, and thank you so much for the report. Super interesting findings. So I'm Charlotte. I've been in crypto since 2019, first at Hive Online, coming in for more from like the development and humanitarian space. I'm also a developer, and I'm currently building a startup in stealth in fund tokenization with the support of the Danish Innovation Fund. Good to be here.
Thank you very much. And I will give the same question to all of you three. What stands out in this Danish survey as you think? Charlotte, maybe you could begin.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of these have already been touched on. I think obviously the crypto ownership being in the 30 to 39 age bracket stands out. But what really stood out to me was 80% said they would never actually purchase crypto, and only 20% say they will buy crypto within the next 10 years. And I think this is a bit low. And so I guess it will be interesting to see how that plays out. Another one I would like to call out is the only 5% ownership in ETFs and ETPs. This is not really in line with what we see in a lot of other jurisdictions, particularly the US, where the launch of the crypto ETFs has really, or the Bitcoin ETF has really brought a lot of retail investors into the space. So those ones really stand out to me.
What about you then, Louisa?
As same for me, that has been already touched upon, but just the different age brackets, and that was it 40 to 49, that was so high, because I watched the Swedish one, and there the younger generation, 18-year-olds, had the higher score, so to say, invested in crypto. But I think that it could be more about the in general, as it said, 60% is investing in crypto that's under the age of 40, means that younger generations are more inclined to invest in new technologies. But I really find it interesting, just the 40 to 49 bracket, that is the same as the 18 to 29.
And you also, Cecilia, please also then share your views and summary of what stands out in your mind.
Yes, absolutely. I think what stands the most out is the 16% of all 30 to 39-year-olds are crypto owners in Denmark. And I think like I might have a possible explanation, because I do student politics on the side. I'm a chairwoman of an organization called DESO. So I represent all the business academy students here. And it's free to educate yourself in Denmark. Education is free for at least 6 years. And there's like a tradition to like stay within the educational system as long as you possibly can, because we have this amazing system in Denmark. So in your 20s, you're studying, you're a poor student, so you don't really have the funds to invest. But when you enter your 30s, you will get good jobs. So I kind of think that might be an explanation why people start investing quite heavily in crypto in their 30s to 40s.
Maybe you also could shed some additional light on this gender gap. I mean, we all know the facts now, it seems, but there are also some initiatives to try to do something about it. And do you have an explanation? Because I think that in stocks, and funds, it's more balanced. So what
Yeah.
is the difference in this space?
Well, I kind of think like the disparity of how men invest versus women. We just have more male investors as such, both in crypto and like normal investments. And I kind of think it's because the women are just more risk adverse than men are. And I recently took a course on investment, and they invited a neuroscientist on board, explaining that it's actually down to biology. Just let's say compared to the action of the action leading to a potential pregnancy that will, from a revolutionary aspect, have more dire consequences for a female versus a male. So that can also be, as a comparison, used to when you know when you talk about investments, women are just more risk adverse than men are. And within this space, the blockchain and Web3 space is 95% dominated by males, which also might be a barrier to entry, just as such as investing in crypto, because you just feel like maybe as a female that maybe I don't really belong here. Maybe it's too techy for me. But yeah, so one of the newest initiatives within Nordic Blockchain Association is that we are trying to turn that around and bring more females and more diversity into the space. And we're doing that. We just recently hosted a female event called the Female Block Tech Circle, where we invited all the badass and fierce females we knew within the tech space and also in the blockchain space, and just basically just gathered a community, started a community so we could start a conversation on what is needed in order to push for positive change. And that just turned into organically a fourth steering committee called Female and Diversity, also to maybe also loop more females into the MBA space as such, and maybe become full-time members. Yeah, because we now have a community of females. So yeah.
Thank you, Cecilia. And just to add some more information about this, because we welcome that initiative. And also in Norway, Sophia Adampour has taken the initiative to create a crypto girl community in Norway. And Sophia, which is then the creator of the first Scandinavian NFT gallery, she will also participate in the live event on Thursday. So that's great. Maybe we could continue with you, Louise, because maybe that's anything related to this, both the gender gap and all the other things regarding adoption, has anything to do with communication? Because I mean, still, if you read the regular press, this is space plagued by scam or speculation, for instance. Is that the case, Louise?
So regarding the communication efforts, I would say that especially in regard to the gender gap as well, if you see where crypto is mainly communicated, it's on Twitter, for example, it's on Discord, it's on Telegram. And when it comes to like my friends, for example, my girlfriends, they never heard about crypto, or sorry, they never heard about Telegram or Discord. And I feel like those communication channels are mainly men, but also focused a bit on gaming and things like that. And I think in order to get the communication about crypto and enhance the adaptation, we also need to focus on different channels rather than just Telegram and Discord. It's great if you want to learn more about the crypto community and everything. But I think before you even get to that place where you want to go into Discord, I think there's a learning curve where we could try to be more present on other platforms as well. And then when it comes to social media, it's also a lot about it's like a dual take. I know that being anonymous is also preferred for some in crypto, but then it also makes it more look like scams, so to say, when people aren't having their own profile pictures, for example. And I think that it's important to bring in more faces to this space, because some people find that crypto is this 18-year-old teenager sitting in his room trading, which is not. It's a big community, and I think a lot of people are missing out and have a kind of rigged view of the people who are working within the space. And then, of course, when it comes to the communication, it's also hard with the terminology. And in order to get people to understand in an easier way, I think use cases could be a really good thing to bring up more, to create these synergies and try to make people understand. Because with AI, you have this, you don't need to understand exactly how AI works, but we have ChatGPT and everybody's using it, so it's fine. But when it comes to crypto, it's a bit of a learning curve if you don't really have any use cases or synergies to talk about. So I think that, in terms of communication, there is a lot of things that we could improve in this space.
So maybe then, like in all types of social media, we need some more influencers. We need more leaders to go out there and talk about it. So, and it is also a responsibility of us in the industry to promote the people that are as skilled as you girls are. Do you agree on that, Louise?
Yes, I do. Influencers is always good, but of course, it's also about, I think a lot of people, of course, are always scared of the scammers and scared of if it's a trustly and easy process and so on. But I think, for example, as I said, AI is being discussed on all platforms. So you're always being influenced by the discussions, while crypto is mainly on Twitter, LinkedIn, or Discord and Telegram. And I think that there's a lot of people who would like to be interested and also be interested in investing. But I think that they are maybe on other platforms, or they feel that the learning curve is like so high that they're just like, no, I don't understand it. And I think sometimes it could be good to lower the expectations and feel like there is no dumb questions to ask. Because I know that, for example, you guys that are skilled in the space, whenever we discuss it, we use the terminology that some people don't know about. For example, some people don't even know about Web3. So then talking more about the technology and the use cases, rather than just saying what is Web3, because people don't even know what Web3 is from start.
Related to use cases, maybe we should then also hear from Charlotte, because you have been working also on the centralized finance, which is sort of the crypto alternative to bank and finance, and also a rather hot topic at the moment, real world assets or tokenizations of real world assets, which sort of bridges the gap between the TradFi and the crypto world. Is that a new wave of possibility regarding adoption? Do you think that, Charlotte?
Yeah, I do. And what I feel is there's a conversation here between digital assets as an investment class and digital assets in the form of tokenization. And they're related, but they're slightly different. So I think traditionally when we talk about crypto, we're talking about things like Bitcoin, Ethereum, coins on Solana, Dogecoin, things of this variety. And to touch briefly on women in the space, a lot of these are perceived as more risky investment instruments, or maybe not even investment instruments at all, but more speculative. So if your risk tolerance is not very high, you might want to veer away from crypto, like crypto at the moment, because it still is very early days. That being said, there's a lot of really great opportunities, and the space is growing really rapidly, but the barrier to entry is not the easiest. On the other hand, outside of crypto, you get a lot of what is being called real world asset tokenization. And it's related but different. So it uses digital blockchain-based tokens, but it will represent a real-world asset, something like real estate or a windmill or a tokenized version of a traditional fund. And these will start to become more prevalent. You see BlackRock issued a tokenized fund over a public blockchain, Ethereum, the other day. And we also have a lot of the US fund issuers and UK fund issuers experimenting and issuing pilots with tokenized bonds, tokenized green bonds. So these instruments are coming more and more into the space, and we're seeing a convergence between the DeFi world and the traditional finance space there, which will definitely bring more people into blockchain and crypto. Not to mention the crypto winter is thawing out. You can feel the first kind of excitement of spring kicking off with the Bitcoin ETFs. So it's an exciting time to be back in the space after a long winter.
Yes, and we also have a comment here from Karina Rot of Bricks. She is the country manager of FIDE in Denmark, and she says that both Female Invest, Economista, and FIDE have crypto webinars for women. So there are some different initiatives regarding this, and it is great to hear. If we move a little from the results that we have illustrated right now and move going forward, what do you, Cecilia, think that we should do to get towards this 2034 goal, or in the global sense, maybe the next billion of users? How can we get rid of the scam thing? How can we improve the user experience, perhaps? Maybe promote some use cases? What is your secret sauce, Cecilia?
Well, I think we should definitely aspire everybody to bring more females and diversity into this industry. And then the great question is, how do we do that? And I think one of the things we could do is also try to acknowledge that we all have this unconscious bias. And I've had this conversation with a lot of our member companies recently, because they're like, but when we have job ads and job openings, we don't see any females applying. Why is that? And I said, well, have you asked some of the women in the space, like just the wording that you use in these job ads, and just the way of communication, and also what Louise was talking about earlier, like the communication channels are much more targeted towards males, and just see, like, my way into this Web3 space, that was back in 2022. I joined a DAO, and that Twitter was the big thing of politics and crypto, and I never used Discord, and we were looped into Discord early on, and we also used Telegram. So definitely, like, the barriers to entry is also the technology, but again, also from my background, the educational system. We need to have more females into the STEM educational lines. We need more. We need also more encouragement for females to be more. How do you say that? Just to really wanting to play with the technology and to make that much more fun during when you get to study, because, like, a lot of people argue that the blockchain technology does not discriminate, but as said earlier, 95% of everybody within this space are males. So if it's only males that are building the technology and are building everything that we're using, it's built for men by men. So we really just need more females into the space.
I just wanted to tap into Louise once more, because regarding marketing and communication and loyalty, there has been a wave of what you could call Web 2.5. I mean, where you combine techniques from the Web 2 world, like the social media, like onboarding on Facebook and Google identities, and even the wallets are getting better or easier to use. is that part of the solution? Do you think that, Louise, to bridge the Web 2 and the Web 3 world?
Yes, for sure. And also, as you said, with the wallet, I mean, it's very easy. It's getting easier that you can just, like, for example, if you have a MetaMask, you can connect your Apple Pay and things like that. And of course, making the technology more accessible and easier, that you don't have to like really make it hard for the users to use the product. Obviously, that makes it easier. But then I think there is for sure an integration between Web 2 and Web 3. When it comes to the community in Web 3 and crypto, most of all, community is basically everything, because in Web 2, for companies, for example, in social media, you can easily take a picture of a product. But when it comes to crypto, you can't take a picture of anything. So the only thing you could do is just to have conversations, basically, and engage in different Twitter threads and Discord channels and so on. And of course, you can also do the things that brands are doing, that they're creating NFTs and things like that. But I think community is for sure the next big thing when it comes to social media. So I know that crypto is very good at community building, but then it's building on, like, as I said before, other like Twitter and so on. So I think that there will be a bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, but I don't know exactly how yet. And yeah, so that will be interesting to figure out.
Thank you, Louise. Maybe we then should get back some of the guys here. Mats, you wanted to have a comment here.
Yes, I wanted to add on the great comments that have been presented here so far. And I really think that with increased regulations coming into play now with markets in crypto assets regulation from the EU, we at least will have a more, let's say, safe and secure environment, because establishing some frames for not only people investing in crypto, but actually then building out different services related to crypto. That might increase the, let's say, the corporates and the more solutions being built from larger corporations, which again might lead to a further adoption. Because what we see from surveys that we conduct on AI regarding the adoption rate, both in the Nordics and on a global level, we see that the main barriers to entry or adopt AI is really the lack of competence and its regulatory ethical concerns. And so at least with MiCA coming into play and regulating parts of the market, it might lead to further adoption, because you at least, let's say, reduce the regulatory burdens, because you create some safe environment to build new solutions. And that is something we see when we do courses on the tax and legal aspects for Nordic corporations. We see that many banks are now actually moving into building up their competence and being kind of ready for not only their customers, right, that is might be involved in crypto and kind of might have a more acceptance towards those types of customers, but might even also build out different solutions within their own system, leading exactly to that bridge between Web 2 and Web 3, at least within the financial system. So I definitely think that you need to decrease the knowledge gap, lead to further kind of knowledge, allow people to learn more, but not only, let's see, people investing in crypto, but also on the corporate side, right? Decreasing the risks and allowing corporates to really invest in this. And thereby, I think it's positive that so many people, 16% of the Danes between 30 to 39 are actually invested into this, because they might have the knowledge that is relevant, right, for their companies, for their employers, both on the public side and the corporate side. And that might, again, with the new regulation, allow for further adoption of this space.
Then we can also give the word to Anders, and you are free to comment whatever you want. But we have a question in the stream regarding the survey. When was it conducted, and maybe even what are the sources, and how have you done it?
Yes, good question. We haven't mentioned when we did it, so that we can answer. We did it the 2 weeks leading up to Easter this year. That's when we conducted the surveys in all the Nordic countries. For each country, we have a little over 1,000 respondents. And that is what Norstat generally regard as enough to get a representative responses. We have done this in Norway for many years, and everything from those results indicate that these results are very, very representative. We see that the numbers that stays consistent from year to year, while also showing us the developments that make sense. I think this survey is a very good and representative survey, and that the numbers should be trusted. There, when we drill down, there can be some small deviations of chance, of course, but overall, I think it's a good reason to trust this survey.
Could it be correct, Anders, to say that when that, for instance, regarding the gender map, regarding the age differences, that also are aligned with other results that you can see from other countries? But when you drill down on specific questions like what platform you use, maybe it's more correct to focus on the difference between the international exchanges and the Nordic exchanges, but not necessarily on each exchange, if you understand, because the numbers can be rather small.
Definitely. So let's say that consistently, 1 in 100 crypto owners use a given exchange. And when we then ask 1,000 people and there are 70 owners among them, then it's not a certainty that we pick up that one. We will never get it to be the proper 1%, because if they answer, it will be 1 of 70 instead of 1 of 100, or it can be 0, or that exchange can be super lucky and get 2. So definitely when we drill down into it, it's the standard deviations become bigger. It's still what we call a consistent estimator, but one shouldn't interpret lower numbers when we drill down too much.
Yes, we have 5 or 6 minutes left, and maybe then we should give a priority to the guests and give the final words. If you have anything to do, you want to share, and maybe focus on, for instance, next year. How can we get to a higher number in Denmark than we are today? What is the main activities, or feel free to comment. Maybe you first, Cecilia.
Well, I think we should start by growing this female and diverse community that we're just in the beginning of here at Nordic Blockchain Association, because I think we will have a lot more different points of views, and I think that will bring a lot of new awareness into this space, and on how we can actually achieve that. And then I also kind of feel like with this new Bitcoin ETF and hopefully also Ethereum ETF coming, I think like that's like in a broader perspective, it's like a stamp of approval compared to like normal fiat, for like more people to think, okay, maybe this isn't so scary to enter this space, and maybe also invest in crypto. Yeah.
Maybe I could give you Charlotte then the follow-up, because you are also then focused on the DeFi part and the real world asset part. And after Larry Fink and BlackRock got approved of these ETFs in January, and he says that step 1 is the ETFs, but step 2 is the tokenization of assets. Will 2024 or 2025 be the real change regarding how classical investors, TradFi, view this space? What do you think going forward?
Well, of course, I don't have a crystal ball, so I won't speculate. But I think we're like looking into brighter times ahead. Definitely. I'm very positive, and just the adoption of this new initiative within the NBA, within the Nordic Blockchain Association. I think it's amazing to feel and see like how well the community adopted this idea, and I co-founded it together with Nune, who's just amazing, and she's been one of the core team members for a couple of years now, and just like, for example, our first event, like from idea to execution, that took 3 weeks. So I think as long as you welcome a more diverse crowd into the space, great things can happen. And I think with more diversity and females in the space, I think the future will look much brighter. Yes.
What do you, Charlotte, think about this evolvement that has happened in the States? And you also said that there wasn't that much ETF investments in Europe. There is a category here which is called ETPs, I think. But the real wave came from the States. But I have sometimes called this the meeting between TradFi and crypto. Do you think that we are a part of that meeting at the moment, or are we still waiting for the classical guys and girls to understand what is happening?
I would say the convergence is actually happening now. You've been able to see it at conferences. There's a lot more institutional interest. There's a lot more institutional pilots. The feasibility studies that have been done over the past couple of years are starting to come into fruition, and you are getting large-scale asset managers that are tokenizing their funds. So that's going to bring in a whole new wave of digital asset users, along with the Bitcoin spot ETF. There's already a large number of ETPs, more sophisticated digital asset ETPs here in Europe. The Bitcoin halving, like I said, is coming up, and that always spikes the market. And yeah, not financial advice, but it traditionally has. And I think when the price of crypto goes up, the interest also goes up. But with that comes the scam. So it's very good that the regulation is coming. It's very good that MiCA is coming into force, so that more dApps that people actually want to use can enter into the blockchain space as well. I think that's so important for adoption. If things are scammy, if they're not good to use, if they're annoying, people won't use them. So bringing more decentralized applications that are actually solving real world problems and real world use cases is definitely going to bring more people into the space, along with the maturity and the regulation.
One last short comments also from you, Louise, because you are focused on the B2B and institutional side, aren't you?
Yes, exactly. And I think that Charlotte has really good points. And of course, with the MiCA regulation and the institutional adoption, and everybody's getting more interested in crypto. And then I also think that it's good in terms of communication that more general media is picking up, more bigger sources such as the Forbes of the Financial Times. They have been talking about crypto for a long time, but more for everybody that isn't in the very like Blockworks, for example, or the crypto tech savvy news magazines, that the regular ones are also posting about crypto more and more. And I feel like in terms of when it comes to not only institutional investors, but also, for example, my friends and stuff like that, there is kind of coming a fear of missing out, so to say, that there's getting more and more people investing in crypto just because they are, of course, interested in it, but also the fear of actually missing out is starting to become bigger and bigger, and then people want in if it is the next big thing that people are saying. They for sure don't want to miss out. And I think that is also in terms of everything getting more regulated, getting more people into crypto.
Then we are closing up this webinar or stream, or what we call it. And we thank you very much to Charlotte, Louise, and Cecilia for taking part and illustrate from a national perspective and also from a gender perspective, how you view the development, and also institutional perspective. And the recording of this stream is available at the moment, both on YouTube and on other channels. And tomorrow we will also meet Anders and Mats again to present then the Finnish results. And on Thursday, we will then have the presentation of the Norwegian results, but also summarize the Nordic part. And as Mats have said during the stream, then also the reports will be available, including the summarization. So thank you very much, and have a nice day this Tuesday, whether you are in Denmark, Finland, Sweden, or Norway. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.